50 or 51 intelligence officials, not just little people, former head of the CIA, former head of the NSA, all these people signed a letter that, oh, that Hunter Biden laptop is disinformation from Russia. It's got all the hallmarks. Oh, yeah, like we're experts at this. Now, they lied. Obviously, every one of them lied. And why aren't they being questioned about that in the mainstream media? Why isn't the mainstream media on about and getting pissed off that they've been lied to? And for Biden, Joe Biden, he knew it was a lie. The latest documents indicate that he and Anthony Blinken, who was not a government official at that time, pulled this stunt off. They didn't want Hunter's laptop to be made public before the election. It's, what do you call that?
Okay, first question, what's the liberal international order? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to define for you what an order is, what it means to be an international order, and then what it means to be a liberal international order. Okay? So an order for me is an organized group of international institutions that help govern the interactions among the member states. You hear people all the time talk about the fact that we live in a rules-based system. Those rules are embedded in international institutions. And an order is a cluster of institutions. Just think about the Cold War order that we created, we the Americans in the West. It included NATO, an institution. It included the EU, an institution, the WTO, right? An institution. Actually, it was GATT back then. The IMF, the World Bank. We had this cluster of institutions that formed the Western order during the Cold War. Okay, so that's what an order is. Great powers create and manage orders. Great powers create and manage institutions. They're the gorillas in the system. They're the ones who establish what the rules are. And of course, that's the United States of America, and to a lesser extent, countries like China and Russia in recent years. Now, very importantly, what's a liberal international order? A liberal international order is one where the dominant state is a liberal democracy. And that liberal democracy has three goals. And if you think about American policy during the post-Cold War period, those three goals stand out very clearly to you. One is you want to turn every country on the planet into a liberal democracy. In a sense, when you're creating a liberal international order, that dominant state is trying to remake the world in its own image. That's what the United States was doing.
ICC, Putin is welcomed here. And no one is going to arrest Putin. If needs be, we'll go and fetch Putin from the airport to his meeting. He will finish all his meetings. We'll take him back to the airport. We're not going to be told by these hypocrites of the International Criminal Court who know the real violators of human rights, who know the murderers of this world. That former Prime Minister of Tony Blair admitted that they made a horrible mistake when it comes to Saddam Hussein. They've not been charged today. Bush is still there. They've not been charged till to date. And then Obama killed Gaddafi. And then nothing has happened. We're here today with Libya being destroyed and unable to recover because of America. We know very well that where NATO gets involved, those are terrorists.
It's not Ukraine. It's Ukraine as a part of NATO. NATO is the most violent, aggressive alliance in the world. Here we talk about it as a peacekeeping alliance. Really? Serbia, Iraq, Libya. What's the peacekeeping alliance? This is just recent years. NATO is a violent, aggressive alliance, recently been expanded to the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. They're part of the North Atlantic now. The last NATO summit, its mission was extended to the Indo-Pacific region. The idea is to enlist Canada, Europe in the U.S. campaign against China. Actually,
We know very well where the U.S. says we are going in to install peace. That place will never know peace as long as America has visited that place. So we don't want ICC's hypocrisy to apply here in our country. President Putin is welcomed. We know our friends. We know the people who liberated us. We know the people who supported us. In Kutokonaval, the weapons that were used in Kutokonaval that led to the liberation of South Africa were coming from Russia. Russia supplied us with weapons in Kutokonaval. Cuba supplied us with soldiers, MK.
Now, a large social network that promotes anti-Western and pro-Kremlin ideas in French-speaking Africa has been discovered. Now, it's called Russosphere. Posts typically accuse France of modern-day colonialism. They eulogize Vladimir Putin and call the Ukrainian army Nazis and Satanists.
Even me. So we discovered this huge network of social media groups across platforms, which is really promoting Kremlin messages all day, every day. And it attacks France, it attacks the West, and it attacks Ukraine.
It is not that Europe has denied its colonial history. That would be too crude. It is instead that Europe has developed a way of telling the story of its colonial history that ultimately seeks to erase that history. The former French Prime Minister, Nicolas Sarkozy, gave a now infamous speech in Senegal, in which he said, "I have not come to deny mistakes or crimes. Mistakes were made and crimes committed. But no one can ask of the generations of today to expiate this crime perpetrated by past generations." Yes, colonialism happened, but. And whatever comes after the but is the focus of the story. What the focus on the but does is that it absolves. It frees Europe of responsibility of a significant and traceable connection to the African present, and it allows Europe the glow of charity. But the truth is that the past does not merely tell us what happened yesterday, it also illuminates what happens today. If we acknowledge that present-day Europe is shaped by the Renaissance of 600 years ago, by the Enlightenment of 300 years ago, then surely we cannot say that what happened merely 100 years ago in Africa no longer matters. It matters. We are gathered today in this reconstructed palace, a beautiful place, but also a place that represents Germany's nostalgia for imperial times. When Kaiser William II lived here, German troops were killing children, women, and men in Southwest Africa. This building says that German history matters, even in a romanticized form. The history of Africa and Asia and Latin America must matter as well. We cannot pick and choose which histories and which points of view still matter, because to do this would be an ugly exercise of brute power. And speaking of power, here's a headline I just read in a German publication. The headline says, where do Africa's treasures belong? Now imagine this headline differently. Imagine if it said, where do Germany's treasures belong? It would be a redundant question, because of course, Germany's treasures belong in Germany. But the question would never even be asked, because there would be no circumstance in which it would be, because of power. And so it seems to me that what we are fundamentally grappling with in this space, in all of these questions about the Humboldt Forum, is power.